Perfect.
So you should be able to see my screen on the secret
Yes,
sauce
the
of
secret
winning a
sauce. Wow.
So hopefully this will be really helpful for everyone. And this gives you a basic framework on how we can help you. So before we begin, this is a toolkit that I developed. So from all the hackathons that I had kind of saw around and participated, this is more from like I guess like a team management perspective. So it's like, how do you manage a team? How to put an ideation process together? What do business models look like? The Hackers Lean Canvas, and Lean Canvas is basically a very short strategy, and it's based on one page. And then how do you pitch and present to a judging panel? So if you just hop on this site or just scan the QR code, it's all accessible. So normally what we do is that we kind of like push this forward once a day, and you get like different templates, or you understand the ways that we can help you in this process. So I just wanted to start by saying that the best way to predict the future is for you to create it. I think the difference between a hackathon and conferences is that during a conference, you're listening and you're educating yourself, and you're listening to a lot of inspiration and amazing people who have done a lot, and they've shared their content and their expertise. The great thing about hackathons is that you get to apply this knowledge in a real work environment. You've got a couple of months to put together a solution that you'll present to us as judges. So I'm really looking forward to that. And so creating what your future looks like is as important as educating and upskilling yourself. So in this session, I'll just go through briefly what is a hackathon, how to approach hackathons, and also the secret sauce to managing a winning team. So as I told you, like at my first hackathon, it was a bit crazy. I didn't really know what was going on. So for those who don't know what's going on and you're just like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? It's okay. I think the key thing here is that you have to be passionate and want to make a difference and create something that's useful for everyone. And so like at my first hackathon, I had two other people on my team. I had a 11-year-old who was still learning to code, very bright and young, and someone who had a really bright future. So we kind of were like, okay, like what could we do together? The second person here is Rachel, and she just finished her degree in design, and her dad was a software developer as well. So together we tried to solve the problem of how do we best help charity organizations in their efforts for fundraising and support. So we did that in a way that was through market research, and looking into funds that could be done and really helpful. I think like the great thing about hackathons is that sometimes you kind of go to one and you don't know anyone else, and it's okay because I didn't know anyone else on my team. So this is also a good opportunity for you to network with people that you don't normally work with. Like I'd never met, people who knew how to code or even knew what design and creating really quick prototypes were. So for me, I was coming outside of my own bubble, and I really encourage everyone here to also do the same. So ultimately, what is a hackathon? Basically, we say that it's a short pressurized process or competition where ideas are designed, developed, deployed, and demonstrated. So I think like being in this environment where you can really get outside of your comfort zone, get outside of your bubble, and do something that you don't do from a 9-to-5 job, and really pursue that creativity. That is something what we really, really want to see, especially at this hackathon where we're applying different technologies to some problems that we see a lot. But how do we progress society and progress the way that we do things? So what actually happens at a hackathon? So firstly, there's the team formation side of things. So everyone gets into teams, and this is what I'll be speaking to more during the workshop. Second thing, and something that's really important, is empathy mapping. So for example, like empathy is not just like looking at a situation or scenario. It could be like, for example, when I'm driving, someone just cuts into my lane and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed. They've just cut through me. But you don't really know why that person has been speeding and cutting through your lane. It might be that they are, they really need to go to hospital to see one of their family members because they're in hospital, or it might be that they're late to a job interview. So just showing that and understanding that empathy more from a deeper level is really important, and probably a good life skill for everyone to get to have as well. The third one here is creative thinking, and this is something that a lot of the time with creativity is not just thinking that the sky's the limit, but how can you connect the dots between different industries and segments. You might be working in the in the utility industry and looking at the ways that you do things, and that could be applied in the IT industry or even in food and beverage. So just understanding what your core knowledge and expertise is and seeing how that you can reapply this in different ways, especially for this hackathon. And the last thing here is hacking solutions. And the way that we define hacking is the active implementation of ideas. So putting together something that's quick and easy that you can present to us and we can see what that looks like. So when it comes to putting together a team, what we like to really pursue, especially in the startup environment where there's like Ubers and Airbnbs, how they really started was that there was a group of co-founders, and how they delegated and segmented themselves was that this methodology of the minimum viable team. So the minimum viable team consists of the hipster, the hacker, and the hustler. And so these three competencies are diverse in a hard skills way, but you also have to be conscious of everyone's skills and strengths as well. It's just as an FYI. So the hipster is the person who has the creative elements. They love to understand the customer journey and the experience, and they really like to design an experience that is useful to the customer. The hacker is traditionally the ones who love to problem solve. So once we really understand those customer benefits and outcomes and pain points, how do we design and create a solution that could be can easily give to the customer to see whether something will work or not. And the hustler here is the person who understands the business model, understanding who the different stakeholders are and the ecosystems and how to best present that back. So this is something that you might want to consider, especially as you are putting together your teams right at the start of this hackathon. So before you approach going to a hackathon, one thing I love to say to people is this concept of learning. So failing to learn whilst having fun learning. And I think learning is such a great concept in a way where like hackathons are hard and intense, but they're also a lot of fun as well. So if you approach it in a way where it's like you're having fun, you're learning at the same time, and there's nothing to lose, and always taking that time to be reflective of like where you've come, what you've created, and how you can apply that in future projects. I think that is the best skill that you have. I know a lot of people who just go to one or two hackathons and they get exhausted and they're like, oh, like I didn't really gain much from it. But I think the way that, I went to so many hackathons where I was like, okay, like how do I take the skills that I've learned, the people that I've met, and everything that I've done and apply it into a new project and apply it to my everyday life. And so having that mindset is such a great thing to have, especially for you to develop yourself, not just professionally, but also personally as well. So I've kind of outlined um, some acronyms here. So focusing on the why, understanding your purpose and why you personally have come to this hackathon, whether that be for networking, whether it be to get into the blockchain kind of ecosystem, understanding the different Ethereums and the DAOs and that kind of thing. Understanding, loving what you do. So are there any like interests or passion points that you have? Understand what everything means, and I explained to that earlier, asking questions. I think in this hackathon environment, it's such a good excuse for you to talk to customers, ask real deep questions there, and also having that capability to respond with agility. So you have a lot of time here at this hackathon actually to see how you can put things together in a really quick and vigorous way, and also to network vigorously. I know when I go to hackathons, I always connect with my speakers, with the mentors, with the judges on LinkedIn, and that's really helped me create my network, especially as I kind of have progressed throughout my career. So just have a think about how you can approach this hackathon with this learning mindset. So really, I always say to people, like, the basics of going to hackathon is kind of going back to the judging criteria. And a lot of the time it's around desirability, feasibility, and viability. So desirability, this is understanding the customer. So a lot of like the hipster kind of environment, this is like understanding the desirability part of it. The feasibility, so understanding the skills of the team, who is on the team. And I think this is really important, especially this being an online hackathon. And I'm sure everyone has had a lot of experience working online, but just getting to know people personally, and not just getting the job done, is super important here. So what are their skills? What are skills that everyone needs to improve on? Can this actually be done by everyone on the team if you were to move forward with this? And also the viability side. So what is the business case behind it? What is the business model? What are ways that you can enhance the ecosystem and make sure that this fits in, especially knowing your value proposition? So this is just like a very basic framework, but generally to a lot of hackathons of what the goals are, and this is based on design thinking practices as well. So this is the hacker mindset template. So this is back to the toolkit that I presented earlier. This is like a simple one pager where you have the capability to understand the story, the background, why everyone is at the hackathon that you want to pursue as a group, and then creating some sort of like program or framework based on the hackathon timeline. So understanding where your timeline is and then working backwards from there. And then the last thing is like to have some sort of growth mechanism to see how you can further develop your processes, and the next steps beyond the hackathon as well. So I'll go through each of the three kind of boxes and components here. So the first one is SPOT. So SPOT stands for the first part of around understanding your own story. So whenever I come together with a group of people that I've never worked with before, especially in a hackathon, it's really imperative to understand how everyone, like why everyone has chosen to participate in the hackathon, because understanding the why would really give everyone a really great background and experience of how we can be consciously aware of other people, especially people in our group, and how we can channel all of this towards a common purpose and a common goal. So, for example, like in my experience talking to my grandma, I found out that she was really concerned about COVID, and that she was really fragile and she didn't really know what to really do in this, in the circumstance. So not knowing how to get household groceries and just having some sort of lifehold support. So now I really want to help people who are over 65 years old, who have the same and are experiencing the same situations, so that they can live their livelihoods to their best extent. So this could be a really basic framework of what you can get everyone to do right at the start. The next one here is like the P's, and the P's around like your purpose, your passion, participation, and your personal development. So I think here, these are kind of like some further questions that you can ask everyone, like why are you here, whether that be to upskill yourself, networking, winning. There's a million Metis out for grabs. So that's cool. Is it to put a startup together? Is it to gain work experience? I think those are things that you might want to consider. And I think a lot of people are in different stages in their kind of ways of doing things. So just be consciously aware of that. Passion, understanding what you want to work on. And I think the key thing here is that we need to listen to others and see how we can really also put that together as a team. And then participation, since this is like a couple of months, for example, like I work full time, 9 to 5, I'm only free from 5 p.m. onwards in the evening, or I may have children and I am free from, 8 p.m. after my kids are asleep till, or maybe like until like super early in the morning. So just understanding your availability and being clear at the start is so important so that you can help develop those communication skills so that, if people don't reply straight away, it's okay. They might be occupied with other things. And then one key thing here is personal development. So I remember when I first started going to hackathons, as I said, I didn't study IT, technology, and that kind of thing. So for me, a key thing was understanding what does data look like? What are the foundations? What does it mean to integrate libraries and APIs? And how do we use data in a way that could help? What does machine learning look like? What are those quick things that we can put together? Or in this case, what is blockchain? What are different currencies, or what are the different algorithms there? So I think just understanding where people's at, because everyone who goes to hackathons, we are constant learners. So knowing that and being aware of that is super important, especially if you're in a team environment. Now, the next thing is the opportunity statement. So I think after you've kind of gotten to know everyone, it's always good to have a go at like, what is the real opportunity that you're trying to tackle? So when I studied a couple of subjects in journalism, they always taught us at the start to put in 2 sentences, the who, what, where, when, how, and why. And so if you put all those simple elements that we learned at school in 140 characters or less, very much like Twitter, it's a way to capture the attention of your target audience. So it could be that like an opportunity is that we want to use, to understand how we can, better enhance trust, especially for those who are senior citizens. That could be something as an example that you may want to pursue. So just making sure that this is a vision, something that is long-term, something that could be achieved by the team, and also ensuring and considering everyone's interests in this is something that every team should do. So I think one of the key things here is that if everyone in the team writes an opportunity statement and then putting the opportunity statements to provide an overall opportunity statement is something that will keep you laser focused, especially as you go through the hackathon, because your opportunity statement or your vision will not move, but anything, how you get to it and what you do may change over time. And this is really prime, especially if you are looking at running a startup or putting together a project. And the last thing here in the spot is just testing your assumptions. So I remember when I did a lot of hackathons, when we kind of put our opportunity statement together, we knew exactly what we wanted to do, whether that be to educate people, to attract talent, or to help people, have a safe environment at home. There's always room to see who is doing what right now and how do you provide additional value to, or is there a gap in the market that you can address? And so I always get everyone on Google for 15 minutes and we just Google as much as we can so that we can see and do a lot of research. And so just doing research, especially at the start, is cool because you can really learn from other people. You can learn from experience as well. And you can also see how you can leverage other people's learnings and put it into what you do. So one thing that I do is like we list assumptions and then we find data that could help back it. So the assumption here, for example, like the majority of the elderly get coronavirus. Like this is when we first started, with COVID, and early findings from China, which pertain to the first 17 people to die in the outbreak, revealed that the median age was 75. And a study in the New England Journal of Medicine that found that the median age of the first 425 people infected was 59. So you can kind of see that this was validated. Um, I don't know if you all remember, but like there was a very big shortage of toilet paper and food around the world as COVID kind of started. But what was interesting when I was doing a hackathon was that we had an assumption that there was not enough food for Australians. But what we realized, according to the data and through our search, was that according to the National Farmers Federation, imported food only accounted for 15% of daily supply. About 2/3 of Australia's produce is exported, meaning we make plenty more than we actually consume. And for farmers, it's pretty much business as usual. So here you can see that there's probably a supply chain issue. So it wasn't so much like, did we have enough food in Australia? But hey, how can we get food to people in a quick manner, in a way that's also fresh as well? So that was something that we were like, oh, okay, how do we pivot and how do we act with agility when it comes to problem solving? So once we kind of gathered all that data, we got to know, our teams very well. It's always good to just think practically about the hackathon. So this is the build stage of like, what is the goal that we want to achieve during the hackathon itself? We can't solve the the world's problems in a simple hackathon in a couple of months. But what is the small thing and the step that we can tackle to get there? Whether that be to build a feature, to test a use case, to understand the business model. There's a lot of things that you can do, and there's a lot of things that you can't do as well. So just understanding what's realistic for your team is super important. Note down your pitch date and time. Also, understand your communication platform. I know a lot of people are on Telegram, for example. So, just understanding how you communicate as a team is important, and the different levels, whether that be like emergency and critical, it's like, something's down. How do we help each other, to just day to day messaging. Know your judging criteria and how you'll be assessed, because that's ultimately judges will be looking for. And I think the last thing here is checking in. So with teams at hackathons, we always have like a check-in process, whether that be like once a week or once every couple of days or once every 3 hours. It's always good to just have a quick stand up or check in, just say, discuss, what you've achieved since the last check in. Is there a destination, or are there things that we need to land on by the next milestone? And what do you need to start, stop, and restart? So, this is a very basic framework on how you can conduct these check ins, especially as you come together, because everyone has different roles in the hackathon, and you need to make sure that everyone's working very collaboratively together. So this is what I sometimes do for a weekend hackathon. Obviously, you can mold this to however your time frame looks like, but based on the hustler, the hipster, and the hacker. So normally everyone needs to get to know each other, complete the spot, and the first aspect of this hacker mindset toolkit. And then we've kind of divided things depending on the skills and strengths of the hustler, hipster, and hacker. So generally, the hustler conceptualizes the idea, they listen to customers, get the feedback, understand the business models, create the video or the pitch. The hipster does additional customer research, but also understands the design aspects. So what's a wireframe, what is the experience of the user, testing it out, looking into the user face. And the hacker is a person who understands like the technology behind it. They probably need to upskill themselves, look into the front end builds and connecting the APIs, look into the features and aligning them, and then working on the prototype. So it's really good for everyone to like aim at the minimum awesome product, especially during the hackathon, and to celebrate your wins along the way. And then the last thing here is to understand the next steps for beyond the hackathon. So the growth stage, which is understanding, you know, who's the customer that you're targeting, the content that you want to, or the messaging that you want to demonstrate, which will talk to the values that you help the customer, the channels, you know, whether that be social media, through groups, um, or through, you know, B2B or distribution or whatever else it is, and the call to action. So how do you close the sale? And then optimizing this. So when it comes to developing your projects, you don't just kind of leave it there. There's always continuous improvement, and there's different ways and different horizons of how you can pursue this. So horizon one is more around your core business. So how do you continuously improve on the product and the service or solution that you've done? Horizon two is like, how do you use what you have and put it into different markets? And horizon three is more the disruptive type. So for example, Disney could be a good example, where they always have different different characters that they put movies up, and they kind of do remakes and modernization of that, which is their core business. Their growth markets could be like they can grow to um, more like the adults, for example, with Disneyland and everything. And then the disruptive model, where there's like Disney Plus, for example, where instead of paying $20 to go see a movie, you pay like $10 a month and you get access to all their movies uh, um, and TV series and that kind of thing. So that's like different ventures and ways of doing things. So in summary, just remember that hackathons are for everyone to attend. This is a great opportunity for everyone to learn and to learn. So be ready to have fun. You know, even if you have small fails, just make sure that you learn from these experiences and you act with agility. So don't forget to spot, build, and go. So, oops, how do I go back? Oops, I'm going to go back. So just to reiterate, if this is the first module of team management for the toolkit, so it's all accessible for you. So if you just go on hackathonsinternational.com/toolkit, you'll get all the briefings on the templates and everything. So if you don't forget to ride the wave, catch the wave, and make waves. We really want to see all of you we really want to see everyone flourish in this. And if you do want to contact me, these are my contact details and also our website as well. So that's it for my workshop. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm impressed and excited. I'm sure if anyone here was attending just for curiosity, now they want to be part of the hackathon. There's a lot of valuable information. This remains recorded, so it will be available for everybody to check again. And there's great material in your webpage. So I'm sure with all these tools you are providing us, our participants will have a blast in these 2 months. We are out of time for answering the questions, but we are receiving all of them. And we will be posting in our frequently asked questions files all the answers to these questions. So thank you very much, Angela. It was a pleasure having you with us, and we are very proud to have you as part of the supporting team in our Metis Hackathon.
Thanks for having me. Good luck, everyone.
Bye.